In this video, you will see what is the top 10 must-have units in update 17. Every units in this video are all obtainable and not from trading. I do want to know what do you guys think is the best unit in update 17. Remember to subscribe and like, and with that being said, in no particular order, the first unit is Lancer Child of Light. Lancer is one of the newest units added in this update 17, and he became one of the best ground units, especially for this brand new tournament 36. Like, he's just amazing for this new tournament. Lancer Child of Light stats on max upgrade and max of LR, 209,000 damage with his SPA at 8 seconds, making his damage per second at 26,174, which is amazing as he is a 4 placement, which will be great in this brand new tournament 36. How to evolve Lancer to Lancer Child of Light is by defeating the new Fate portals countless of times, which you can obtain through the brand new infinite mode in this update 17. The best trait you can have on Lancer Child of Light is Divine, or if you're going for Infinity Castle Room, then go for Unique. Lancer's damage types are Physical and Storm. Alright, next unit is Lao Room. Law is one of the best ground and support unit in this update 17. Law is also extremely overpowered to bring an Infinity Castle, not only because of his ability, but how surprisingly cheap he is to max upgrade, which will be useful in the Infinity Castle, leaderboard runs, and many more. Law Room stats at max upgrade and max of LR, 150,141 damage with his SPA at 5.9 seconds, making his damage per second at 25,447.62, which is insanely good for a support unit as he has an ability on placement called Shamble. When activated, the enemies will be teleported back, which is insanely strong, and he is way better. Lulu Gias, and that means Law Room will be valuable in Infinity Castle and leaderboard runs with his Shamble ability. The Shamble ability affects air, ground enemies, and bosses, which is insanely pog. Law Room is incredibly easy to evolve as you just have to continuously defeat the puppet portal, which are easy to defeat even if you are soloing the portal. The best trait you can have on Law Room is Unique, as he is a 3 placement, and an alternative trait you can have on him is Sniper, so he will be able to teleport back more enemies with his massive range. Law Room's damage types are Magic and Aqua. Alrighty, next unit is Guts Berserk. Guts Berserk is still one of the most overpowered unit with his full AoE, since he'll be able to hit both air and ground enemies at later upgrades in this update 17. Guts Berserk stats at max upgrade and max of LR, 326,850 damage with his SPA at 12 seconds, making his damage per second at 27,237.5, which is insanely strong, especially Guts is a full AoE and will be able to hit both air and ground enemies at later upgrades as I have mentioned. Guts also does an addition of 25% bleeding in 4 ticks, which is the best tick you can have on a bleeding unit. So congrats to Guts Berserk W unit. How to evolve Guts to Guts Berserk is by defeating the Eclipse portal, which can be obtained through the Win Him Infinite mode, which is incredibly easy to defeat, especially the map is quite big, so you can place further back if you are playing solo or struggling. Guts Berserk's damage types are Physical and Fire. Okay, next unit is Stain Hero Slayer, who is one of the best DPS ground unit in this update 17, since the ability that we will get at later upgrades is still extremely strong. Like, it's insane, bro. Stain Hero Slayer stats at max upgrade and max of LR, 91,870 damage with his SPA at 5.6 seconds, making his damage per second at 16,405.35, which is insanely strong. How Stain Slayer Hero works with his ability is whenever Blood Curdle is activated, Stain's damage will deal 3 times more damage to every bleeding enemy inside his range. The ability can crit 4.5 times of Stain's current damage, as well as it stuns enemies for 2 seconds. Oh my goodness. This ability is not a global ability, which technically you can spam the ability. There is a 10 seconds cooldown though on enemies who have been affected by the ability, and the ability cooldown is 20 seconds. Stain Hero Slayer will be extremely good when pairing with bleeding units, especially Guts Berserk, who is one of the most overpowered unit in this update 17, where he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies at later upgrades, making Stain Hero Slayer the best, especially when Blood Curdle is activated. It will attack every enemies that are bleeding, even air enemies, bro. so that is why he is quite overpowered to pair with God's Berserk. Stain Hero Slayer's damage types are physical and dark. Alright, next unit is Gilgamesh, King of Heroes. Gilgamesh is one of the newest units added in this update 17, and he became one of the best ground unit. Especially, he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies at later upgrades, and even on his unevolved, which is insanely strong. Like, who does that, bro? Gilgamesh, King of Heroes stats a max upgrade and max LR, 518,000 damage with his SPA at 11 seconds, making his damage per second at 46,666, which is one of the most overpowered damage per second unit in this update 17. How to get Gilgamesh is by defeating the new secret golden portal, which you can get through defeating the new fate portals. How to evolve Gilgamesh to Gilgamesh, King of Heroes is by defeating the new fate portals countless of times, which you can obtain through the brand new infinite mode in this update 17. Gilgamesh damage types are magic and light, and the best trait you can have on Gilgamesh is unique, as he is a 3 placement. Okay, next unit is Ains Overlord. Ains Overlord is one of the best ground unit, as he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies. Especially, he will become a full AoE, and at the same time, Ains spawns summoner units, which will deal 1,725,762.19 damage at max upgrade, which is insanely strong in this update 17. Ains Overlord stats at max upgrade and max LR. 345,152.44 damage with his SPA at 10 seconds, making his damage per second at 34,515.24, which is still one of the most overpowered damage per second out there. Especially, he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies at later upgrades and becomes a full AoE. How to get Ains Overlord is by awakening the Overlord staff after sacrificing 3 evolved mythic units from Overlord. How to evolve Ains Overlord is by defeating the brand new Undead Tome Legend stages, which you will have to continuously grind multiple of those legend stages. Especially, you'll be needing 10 of each Overlord ring, blue, red, and yellow. Ains Overlord's damage types are magic and dark. Okay, next unit is Shouta Bloodfallen. Shouta is one of the best bleeding amplification unit. Especially, he has a way better DPS and AoE size than Power Fiend in this update 17. Shouta stats a max upgrade and max LR, 111,829 damage with his with her SPA at 8 seconds, making her damage per second at 13,978.67. On placement, Shouta will be able to make bleeding damage 5 times more, which is insanely strong, especially when pairing her with God's Berserk. Especially, it is going to be very useful for leaderboard runs, tournaments, and many more, so I highly recommend to be careful trading for Power Fiend, since Shouta is a way better power. How to evolve Shouta is by defeating the brand new Undead Tome Legend stages, which you will have to continuously grind multiple of the legend stages. Especially, you'll be needing 10 of each Overlord ring, blue, red, and yellow. Shouta's Bloodfallen's damage types are physical and rose. Moving on to the next unit is Archer Heroic Spirit, which is one of the newest units added in this update 17, and he became one of the best ground unit, as at later upgrades he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies. Archer Heroic Spirit stats a max upgrade and max LR, 252,000 damage with his SPA at 6.4 seconds, making his damage per second at 39,375, which is insanely strong, as he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies, and at the same time he will be useful for physical Infinity Castle rooms. The best trait you can have on Archer Heroic Spirit is Divine, or if you're going for Infinity Castle room, then go for Unique. How to evolve archers by defeating the new fate portals countless of times, which you can obtain through the brand new infinite mode in this update 17. Archer Heroic Spirit damage types are physical and fire. Alright, next unit is Usopp God. Usopp is the best boss killer in this update 17. Especially, he is a hybrid unit on placement, which means he will be able to attack both air and ground enemies. Usopp God stats a max upgrade and max LR, 414,182.93 damage with his SPA at 5 seconds, making his damage per second at 82,836.59, which is the highest damage and damage per second unit in this game currently. Oh my goodness. Usopp God is extremely overpowered for Infinity Castle, so I highly recommend getting Usopp God, especially you'll be able to carry early waves in any certain maps. Usopp God attack types are true damage and air, which means he will be able to ignore yellow shield and be insanely good for Infinity Castle as he will ignore resistance. Alright, next unit is Oceano. Oceano is still one of the most overpowered unit in this update 17, especially Oceano buffs your units by 15% damage and make the upgrade cost 20% less, which is insanely good. You can place Oceano anywhere in the map and your units will still be buffed. Oceano's passives only works on you and not other teammates. Pairing Oceano with farms will make it cheaper for you to upgrade your farms, and not just making your farms cheaper, but also making your units upgrade cost less, which will be valuable in short maps like story modes, Infinity Castle, portals, and many more. Okay, next unit is Griffith Ascension. Griffith is the most overpowered unit and even better than Dio over Heaven himself, with Griffith extremely overpowered passive in this update 17. Although he has been hit hard with a nerf on his Griffith Ascension. Griffith Ascension stats are max upgrade and max LR, 20,711 damage with his SPA at 6.3 seconds, making his damage per second at 3,287.46. You might be wondering why he has such a low stats. Well, it is because you have to sacrifice certain units. If you sacrifice buff units, Griffith will turn into Griffith Reincarnation, where it will buff your units by 100%, and you can stack your buff with Griffith Reincarnation, which is incredibly overpowered, which can be used in the brand new... No, you cannot anymore actually. Oh my god, what happened, guys? If you sacrifice mythic, secret, legendary, epic, rare units, Griffith Ascension will become a full AoE DPS, which is the most overpowered unit in anime adventures, even better than Dio over Heaven. Do keep in mind that Griffith does not have a cap, making it insanely overpowered, so I highly recommend trying to get your Griffith damage up to 300 plus before he transforms, because it will be broken for Griffith to have such an insane amount of damage with him being a full AoE and multi-hit, which will be great against shield enemies. Griffith's buff is based on the cost of the unit, which if you have maxed out the units, it will give more percentage of damage or buff before Griffith transforms. Okay, next unit is Koichi Echoes. Koichi is one of the best ground and support units since at later upgrades. He will become a hybrid and will be able to slow enemies, which is insanely strong in this update 17. Koichi Echo's stats are max upgrade and max LR, 116,811 damage with his SPA at 6.3 seconds, making his damage per second at 18,541.42, which is pretty good, especially at later upgrade. His slow will make enemies 80% slower, which is basically like a freeze, and he is actually the first unit in a while to hit both air and ground enemies that slows enemies. How to evolve Koichi to Koichi Echoes is by defeating the new raid Bizarre Town countless of times, because you will be needing for 100 killer coins and star fruit for you to be able to evolve one of the newest JoJo Bizarre units. I do recommend to buy all of the Heart Bomb Raid relics, since it will help you once you have bought every single of the Heart Bomb Raid relics. Koichi Echo's damage types are physical and air. Finally, the last units are Metal Knight Arsenal. Metal Knight is one of the best heal unit, especially he has an insane multi-hit and summons drones in this update 17. Metal Knight Arsenal stats are max upgrade and max LR, 129,881 damage with his SPA at 6.1 seconds, making his damage per second at 21,291.96. Remember that Metal Knight Arsenal can only be placed down twice, making unique trait the best trait on this unit. The drones will deal half of Metal Knight's damage, and at later upgrades, Metal Knight will become a multi-hit, which will do well against shield enemies. You'll be needing takedowns for Metal Knight to spawn his drones, and there is a tracker at the back on how many takedowns he got. Excuse me. To fully max upgrade one Metal Knight Arsenal will cost you 118,250 yen, and his damage types are Magic and Storm. An alternative unit you can go for instead of Metal Knight Arsenal is Fuji Admiral. Fuji is still the best heal unit and the strongest heal unit in this update 17, especially with him being a 2-hit on placement, making him great against shield enemies, and overall, one of the best heal units out there. Fuji Admiral stats a max upgrade and max level are 157,205.43 damage with his SPI at 11 seconds, making his damage per second at 14,291.4, which makes Fuji Admiral the current best physical heal unit and overall a heal unit, especially on how cheap he is to max upgrade with insane damage, and one of the best shield breaker heal unit as he is a 2-hit on placement and will do multi-hit at later upgrades. Fuji Admiral costs 66,500 Yen to max upgrade one single Fuji Admiral, and his damage types are physical and dark. That was everything for this video on the top 10 must-have units in update 17. I hope this video helped you in some sort of way. Remember to subscribe and like, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye.